everyone, and welcome into On the River with the Rafters podcast. I'm Austin Thomas. I'm going to be the radio broadcaster for your Rats throughout the entire season. And this podcast, we're going to be starting up, and we're going to be hoping to bring you all of the action, interviews with coaches. Of course, here you can see we've got head coach and field manager Thomas Zieglowsky. We're going to be calling him Ziggy throughout the season, get to know him. And for this first episode here, well, it's basically going to be like an introductory press conference of sorts. So before we get into anything, first question I want to ask you, how are things going for you? How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me out. This is something I've been grinding at. Very honored and blessed to have these opportunities. Since day one, I've been grinding at that roster. Been trying to bring in the right guys that are full of passion and believe in what I preach in. And, being a player's coach, I'm trying to bring in the right core that'll bring us back to a championship this year.
Yeah, well, you talk about bringing in those right players and the right core as well. We saw a couple of signings earlier, but when you're talking about those players and specifically, just a quick question here: what are you looking for in those players?
For me, it's guys that believe in an organization, believe in a team philosophy, believe in themselves. Putting up numbers. Going back and making a roster position wherever school they're at. Some guys are coming from the portal, so they're fighting for scholarships, stuff like that. So I'm here to help them put up numbers. That's one of my goals this summer, is create an environment that's healthy, something that they can thrive in.
Yeah, and you talk about putting up numbers, and hopefully that's going to be one of the biggest things that you want from the players. But when you look at the team aspect, of course, the Rafters are going to be a big into winning, hopefully, this year. What are your goals specifically for the team in general?
Honestly, it's win first half, win second half, get into that playoff, and win a championship. It's to come to the yard every day, happy to wear the hat that they're going to have on, being interactive with the fans. It's important to have the community involved. I want to see everybody out there this year. It's important to me, so I know it's going to be important to them. I'll make sure that, I put in the work there, that they pay attention to that. So for the fans, that's a big important thing for me, is to make sure those guys are happy.
Well, of course, the fans a huge part, and of course, for the fans tuning into this, we appreciate all of you for the off-season support, and hopefully we can have some great support throughout the season. Grab an oar, ride with us to the finish line, and hopefully a championship with the Rafters this season. But for the fans specifically, what should they be expecting throughout this season?
Guys that are passionate, guys that are gonna get into what the organization needs. If that's grabbing the oar, showing some spirit, showing some enthusiasm, that's what we can control. We can bring the energy. And, the calls on the field, that's out of our control. What we can bring is energy and excitement. And that's something I think they can look forward to out of this team.
Of course, the season's still a couple months away, but during the off season here, you're preparing for your spring team. Where do you coach at during the spring?
So right now I coach at Hope International in the city of Fullerton. We're an NAI program, just came off a national championship in 2024. Was super blessed to go on that ride. Ranked number 2 right now in the nation. About to just finished up fall ball, so looking forward to starting our spring here shortly.
So how long have you been with Hope International?
So I've been there since 2019. Started coaching in the college level at 2015. So I've been doing it for a little while, and got into coaching about 15 years now. Something I really enjoy doing.
So what got you into coaching in the first place?
Honestly, growing up at the baseball field, I was a single family, raised by my dad, and just growing up day in, day out, morning to night, watching him do baseball field so we can play for free. Just the lifestyle we lived, and that's how I grew up, and being coached under some good coaches with Dave Demarest and Scott Pickler, and blessed to be coaching under my brother-in-law right now at Hope International. I've watched him grind his way through the coaching ranks, and that's what I've learned is sometimes it's not your story, it's somebody else's. And you've asked me a couple questions to answer about a role model and stuff like that, and I just jumped straight to it. That's a guy that has been a role model. Watching him grind from not making a JUCO team to making the JUCO team to winning the state championship, taking the small salary on coaching and going out to Cape Cods for 6-8 summers in a row on low pay and getting his chance to be a head coach. Now he's 2-time coach of the year and national champion. And to me, that's goals. That's what I set for, and that's experience that I bring just being under a guy like that, so something that the Rafters I know can look forward to.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of familial bonds that have kind of guided your baseball journey. Would you say you're a pretty big baseball family?
Huge, man, huge. And it's not about the family; it's the network. The network becomes family. Your ex players, your ex teammates, your Sunday league teams. That's a brotherhood that I've grown up with. I've always played older. I've always played up. I still, play myself. I just got done playing indie ball at age 42, so I still get at it. I took the chance there to put on a jersey at 42 and went at it. Out of college, I had success, just dad had bad health and went that route, so at 42, I tried to put a jersey on and pitched 78 innings and had a great season. Then I accepted a position to get back into coaching, and I'm blessed I did, man. I'm honored I did.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that experience, pitching at 42?
Yeah. So I always throw to the guys. Like, I'm a coach that gets after it with them. So Sunday league tournaments, throwing to the guys every day. It's just, I do it on a daily, and I always had the grind. And right now in life with my wife, my family, just the blessings they gave me to be able to say, hey, go try it, and I tried out a couple places and got accepted to the Mavericks League in Oregon. Went there and was literally the oldest guy in the league. But I created some opportunities for youngsters to know that there's somebody else out there pushing for a position. Your time clock is so short, but it's as long as you want it to be. So taught a lot of lessons, just a lot of people inspired by it, and that's something I was pushing as a goal, is to hopefully inspire somebody.
Well, you mentioned wanting to inspire people, and you think about that as a coach. What is one thing you hope that will stick with your players, and maybe not even just your players, but really anyone that knows you? What's one thing that you would want to stick with them just from meeting you or playing with you or watching you?
Be the first one off the bench. Be a passionate guy. Be yourself. Be free. Life's too short. Like, your time clock is only so long. So experience it. Understand where your feet are. Enjoy the memories. Enjoy the moments. Be thankful. Be humble. Like, just a lot of that. And that's what I push to strive, is to teach them how to be on and off the field good people. Baseball game only lasts so long. You create a friendship with some of your teammates that you may have never met before. And I'm a firm believer God opens up doors for reasons and puts you in places that you're supposed to be. So just being in the moment.
Well, you mentioned the memories that you create as, in the baseball world. Of course, there's probably a lot of memories for you, but in your career and just with baseball in general, is there any memory that you have that sticks out above all the rest?
100% is winning the national championship last year with Hope International University. Going down, first game in the World Series, 2-game elimination, and we won 5 straight games to win the whole thing. So just every game was, honestly, we felt like once we won that first game, that was an achievement for the program. Then it's like Groundhog's Day. What did we do that day? Where did we eat? What time did we go to bed? Uh, it was exact. We woke up and we did the same exact thing for 5 straight days until we won that thing. And it was a fun journey to be on.
Well, what was that celebration like afterwards?
Oh, wild, wild. And it still honestly doesn't feel real. We haven't received the rings yet. I got a little sneak peek of them, and wait till you guys see them. I believe in sometime in January. So come summertime, I should have some pictures by then for you guys.
Oh, well,
Uh,
we'll definitely be looking forward to that.
I think then it will sink in a little bit. City of Fullerton did like a little city hall thing for us, so that kind of sunk in a little bit. But I think once we receive those rings, then the true celebration should happen.
Well, celebrations are always fun. Outside of that, would you say there's any other memories that you kind of lasting with you, maybe from a little further back?
Honestly, watching my dad do what he did to help us grow up, catching me on a bucket, in the backyard, tossing little small wiffle balls to me. That's priceless moments that, I cherish forever, that you'll never get back, and that's stuff that I think people lose sight of anymore nowadays. Being an internet type of environment, it's people lose that, and if you have a chance, get out there, get out and work with your kids. Right now is the time you put them in lessons. It's cheaper than a full ride scholarship, you know, so get out and take them to the camps, take them to this type of stuff. As coaches, it's helps us get better. It helps us expose some expertise that we got and that we're working on. And, so this year, I'm going to mention about the camps is this year, Rafter fans, please help get out, bring your boys out, bring your girls out. If you're an older gentleman looking how to pitch, come out. We're welcome, to have everybody and would love to help.
Yeah, any support is great, and we're hoping to see all of you out there, and we're going to have a great team of the rest of the staff as well. Of course, I'll be there broadcasting the games. Ziggy here, he'll be coaching the games, so you might be able to see both of us at the games if you're coming on out to those. Well, you talked about, your start in baseball and, pitching with your dad and just throwing around the ball. Do you remember exactly when it was when you first threw around a baseball?
I want to say it was about 3 to 4 years old that they started showing me pictures and stuff like that. And about 4 or 5 years old is when I couldn't get me off the field. Like I was at the T-ball field, I was at the Pinto, at the Mustang. Like that's who I was, So as long as I can remember, I was all over baseball. I didn't really get into other sports. It was a little bit of football my freshman year, but I happened to make varsity, in baseball. So as a freshman, and dad wasn't having it. Dad wasn't paying for two sports. Again, single family, just young, growing up. Mom still involved, just watching dad do what he did was what I remember.
Well, I've kind of talked about, going into the past and still kind of sticking with that and looking back in the past, obviously mentioning winning the national championship and also just playing with your dad. But sometimes there are wild memories and wild things that happen, maybe a bus breaks down or all of a sudden some celebrity shows up to a game. What's the wildest thing that's happened whenever you're at a baseball field?
So I have a wild memory. Just got to Indy ball, went out and was introducing myself to everybody. Hey, 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 my name's Ziggy. I'm the old guy. So it's like, okay, cool. Got out to the line, said hi to everybody. And there's a guy out there stretching in center field. And, I see him out there and I'm like, all right, he's the last guy I have to go say what's up to. He's my teammate. So I start jogging out there and I get about halfway and I'm like, hey, what's up, brother? And he kind of gives me the, hey, what's up? And I start going a little more and I start saying, hey, what's up? I'm Ziggy. And he gives me the look. So I'm thinking, maybe he has a hearing, issue. And he's like, hey, what's up? Didn't say anything. And hey, I'm Ziggy. Finally got close enough and he's trying to do this with his lips. And so now I'm in his face and I'm like, I'm Ziggy. I'm Ziggy. And all of a sudden he goes, hey, I'm Rocco. It's like, had me fooled, so I take that to, it doesn't matter how old you are. There's always a time to loosen up and get into one of your teammates and have some fun with them. So it's one of my memories that I take with me.
Have you ever played a prank on some of your teammates?
I haven't, honestly, just I'm always one to be out of the dugout. I was never in the dugout, so I was always a serious butt. I wanted to play. I was a team captain, passionate. I was always fired up, never wanted to joke. I always felt like that guy didn't make a team. And that's still how it is. You get a class clown, and a class clown doesn't put in the extra work. He doesn't put in the cage time, doesn't put in the field time. That's these guys got to put in hours. It takes hours to master a craft. And if, as a head coach, that's what I look forward to is helping push the limits, helping push comfort zones, and create hours that they understand they're putting in, not just showing up to the yard. And it's got to have a purpose, got to have a structure. I think that's my goal this year is to put that in place.
Well, I guess a little bit talking more strategy here is it's still a ways out, and we don't really know the roster entirely yet. But when you look at a team, and if there's one thing that you're trying to instill in batters, or one kind of approach that they're trying to take, or maybe one kind of pitch, an outside pitch for pitchers, is there something specifically that you're wanting to instill in your players to help you win games this year?
Trust. A trust system is going to allow freedom. Trust I'm with you. Trust that I believe in you. Trust that if it's not the right decision that was made, we'll have conversations about it. If it's a respect thing for the game or if it's a respect thing for the team. You know what I mean? I think they need to go out there and understand they need to fail to get better. So there's not going to be a stranglehold. That's not my style of coaching. I shouldn't have to put a lot of signs on unless the game needs it. Unless the guy showing me he needs to understand a certain situation, then I'll help that out. But my goal is to let these guys go out there and play. Go out there and have fun. I believe in their talent. I believe in the network that I've got the player from. You know what I mean? To where I can say it's going to be a fun summer. And rosters tightening up quick. It's not. I'm not waiting around. Like I think waiting around and taking bigger schools and stuff like that. I'm all for. It's. I'll have a mix, but it's not about the big school. It's about the grinder. It's about the guy who wants to come in, believe in some play time, and not be angry when the play time's not there. Like your numbers are going to play. It's going to have a rotation for them. To where it's an equal opportunity. These guys, like I said, need to go back to their schools happy, with the mentality of winning.
Well, kind of switching a little bit away from the focus of baseball. We've kind of been talking about that for a little while. Still staying a little bit on the track of baseball, though. Let's get a little bit into movies here, a little bit more fun. Is there any baseball movie to you that's your favorite?
What's funny is out in last year as an assistant, we played at Moonlight Graham Stadium.
Hmm.
That's one of my favorite movies. So it was cool and they play that movie on the big screen as we're out there. So you'll see it this year. Very cool scenery to be hearing it on the big screen and watching it. It's pretty cool. But that's been one of my favorites.
Well, still kind of sitting on that fun track. Do you support any sports teams outside of baseball?
So I grew up a Braves fan. I grew up obviously a pitcher. Loved Dave Justice. Loved all the pitching Braves had. But I'm 10 minutes from Angel Stadium, so conflicted there. I've been at Little League and Tim Salmon and Troy Gloss, and my coach was home plate and the pitching mound maintenance guy. So at the end of the game, my dad would park in center field, and all the players would go out and have some beer with the maintenance guy. And so I just grew up out there playing pickle in the parking lot and over the line and stuff like that. So I'm conflicted. I'm nowadays I'm a sports fan. And that's what I love good sports. I love good teams that push to get better each year. This year Angels have done a little bit, so go for them. But I just like to watch good baseball. The World Series was great last year. And what about you?
Well, I personally grew up a Cubs fan, but I lived in Kansas City, so I kind of get what you're talking about the conflicting teams right there. Very understandable from my perspective, although a lot of people might be like, "What do you mean you support two teams?" But it's always a lot of fun whenever you've got a team to root for. But one final question here. I mean, this is about all I've got for you, but what are some of your favorite hobbies outside of baseball? What do you like to do in your free time?
Honestly, being with my wife, being out at little small towns, finding a little local brewery, headed up to like Mammoth, little Bishop, California, little small stuff like that. Hiking. I do a little side business that I work for. It's called Do Life Tact. We do a little cool little product that patches go on and off our hats, our bags. So just really cool little setup that I've got into lately and love doing it, love getting out to events. And hopefully the Rafters, speaking with Vinny, hopefully they get a little setup this year.
Well, that sounds like we've got a lot planned and a lot to see the rest of the season as well. Well, that's all I've got for you. Any last things you want to say here for our first episode of On the River with the Rafters?
Hey, look forward to having you. Last year was a fun year, and I think this year is going to be even a better one. 2025 is going to be good for a lot of people, and it's going to be good for the Rafters. It's going to be good for myself, my family, my players. So looking forward to everything.
All right. Well, that's all we've got time for here on today's episode of On the River with the Rafters podcast. I've been Austin Thomas, joined by new field manager Thomas Zieglowsky, also known as Ziggy. That's what we'll be calling him throughout the season. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, have a great rest of your day.